To make the best car in the world is bold. But in 1904, Rolls-Royce said, "Hold my tea," and made history. After battling through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and more than 120 years of challenges, they've become the gold standard for luxury, engineering perfection, and, of course, the legendary Spirit of Ecstasy. Plus, they made the world's most expensive new car. Buckle up. This is more than just cars. It's a story of rising from poverty to success, pushing the limits, and overcoming challenges to become a worldwide symbol of excellence. This is the evolution of Rolls-Royce. The story of Charles Rolls and Henry Royce must be one of the most fascinating stories in automotive history. Rolls was born very wealthy, obsessed with cars and planes. Royce, total opposite, born into extreme poverty in 1863 in England. His dad passed away when he was 9, leaving his family with almost nothing. So young Henry had to step up. No roadblocks for him, just hard work or starvation. At 14, his aunt secured him an apprenticeship at Great Northern Railway, where he uncovered his talent for electrical engineering, paving the way for his future success. After 3 years, Royce became the chief electrical engineer at 21. By age 21, I was still grinding away at my PlayStation, convinced that leveling up was my life's calling. Meanwhile, Royce and his buddy Ernest Claremont founded F.H. Royce & Company, fixing doorbells and electrical generators, while Royce casually came up with genius inventions on the side. 15 years later, Royce turned his little doorbell business into something worth $8.3 million in today's dollars. But then, out of nowhere, the 1889 recession put him at risk of bankruptcy. He started fixing cars, noticed mechanical flaws, and thought, why not build a better car? That's how the Royce 10 horsepower was born in 1903. Meanwhile, Charles Rolls was obsessed with speed, way before Fast and Furious existed.
Oh, shit.
On his 30 horsepower Mors, he pushed it to 83 miles per hour, which was like light speed back then. The problem? His timing equipment wasn't verified, so it didn't count as an official record, though he did earn the nickname Dirty Rolls from his college friends for always messing with his car's engine. Then Rolls' friend Henry Edmonds introduced Rolls to Royce. Rolls took Royce's new 10 horsepower model for a ride, and it was love at first gear. By December 23, 1904, they made their partnership official, setting out to sell as many cars as possible under a name that would soon become synonymous with luxury, Rolls-Royce. And so began a partnership so legendary, it's still making people dream they could afford one of their cars 120 years later. Fun fact, Charles Rolls loved being a pioneer. As the third son of a British lord, he was wealthy enough to become the first student in Britain to own a car. Must be nice to roll up to Cambridge in a car while everyone else is still stuck with horses. He also teamed up with Claude Johnson to start the UK's first car dealership. I guess when you're rich and ambitious, you just start a car empire. By 1904, Rolls-Royce made its grand entrance in Paris with 4 models, including a 10 horsepower for those wanting to arrive fashionably late, a 15 horsepower, a 20 horsepower, and for the speed demons, the 30 horsepower, with a top speed of a whopping 55 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, 55 miles per hour is where you get honked at in the slow lane today, but back then, it was a thrill ride. These beauties were priced between £395 and £890, or roughly $40,000 to $90,000 today. For a Rolls-Royce, that's basically giving it away. Fun fact, these first Rolls-Royce models were super exclusive too. The oldest surviving Rolls-Royce was sold in 2007 for £3.5 million. Keep in mind it was bought at the time for £395. Bought for pennies, sold for millions. Insane. In 1905, Rolls-Royce made a V8 town car to rival electric cars. Yes, they existed long before Tesla. It could hit 26 miles per hour, which might sound slow, but back then it was pushing limits. Or at least it would have been if Britain didn't enforce a hilariously low 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. They sold just one, but then took it back, making it the ultimate ghost model, much rarer than the ones driving today. In fact, it's the only Rolls-Royce car of which no real-world example survived, like a collector's impossible dream. In 1906, Rolls-Royce officially formed Rolls-Royce Limited. Rolls handled the business, Royce worked his engineering magic, and they brought in Claude Johnson, their marketing genius. Johnson was literally known as the hyphen in Rolls-Royce. So yeah, that little dash, it carries his entire legacy. When the 40-50 horsepower model launched, Johnson had a publicity car painted in aluminum with silver-plated fittings and named it the Silver Ghost. Why? To highlight its stealthy, smooth ride. The press loved the name, but Rolls-Royce took nearly 20 years to make the name official. The Silver Ghost's 7.6-liter, six-cylinder engine was incredibly quiet and reliable. Johnson's Ghost car ran non-stop for 40 days, covering 15,000 miles, earning it the title Best Car in the World from Autocar in 1907. With a 19-year production run and 7,874 made, the Silver Ghost was Rolls-Royce's star for many years. Fun fact, the first Silver Ghost, AX201, sold for £750 in 1908. By 2005, that same car was valued at a jaw-dropping $35 million, making it the world's most expensive car at the time. Who knew ghosts could be so lucrative? Too bad it's not Casper driving it. By 1909, Charles Rolls started to lose interest in the car business, so he focused on his other true passion, planes. His love for aviation, especially for the Wright Flyer, the first airplane ever, gave him a sense of adventure like no other. But in 1910, that adventure ended in heartbreak. The plane's tail broke during a flight display, and Rolls became the first British person to die in a powered aircraft accident. Sadly, he passed away at the age of just 32, tragically young, but his legacy is still strong more than a century later. In 1912, Royce's health declined, and doctors gave him just months to live. But he defied the odds, almost as if saying, "Not yet, Rolls-Royce still needs me." A true miracle. When World War I broke out in 1914, Rolls-Royce didn't just sit on the sidelines. They jumped into the war effort by building airplane engines for the British government. In just a year, their Eagle engine was powering fighter planes. And by 1919, it made history by completing the first non-stop flight across the Atlantic in the Vickers-Vimy bomber. Rolls-Royce didn't just survive the war, they took flight and soared into aviation history. And get this, back then airplane engines were like rolling dice. Most of the time you were gambling with your life. The Rolls-Royce Eagle engine? It was one of only two engines that didn't crash and burn during the war. Bet those pilots were feeling pretty special, like, oh wow, my plane stays in the air. What a luxury. After the war, Henry Royce received an OBE, or as I like to call it, the Order of Badass Engineers, for his excellence. Fun fact, the Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost was so hardcore, they used its chassis for British armored cars in both World War I and World War II. Multiple variants were made, with thicker armor and bigger guns. Silver Ghost was out there winning wars, not just luxury contests. In 1922, Rolls-Royce realized people's wallets were tight, so they introduced the smaller 20. Owners were supposed to drive it, but most handed the keys to their chauffeurs, because driving yourself is for poor people, right? It had a 3.1-liter engine capable of 60 miles per hour. Rolls-Royce produced 2,940 of these beauties over 7 years. In 1925, Rolls-Royce decided it was time to move on from the Silver Ghost and unleashed the 4050 Phantom. It had a larger 7.7-liter engine, because subtle doesn't exist in their dictionary. They expanded to America, opening a new factory across the pond. The UK Phantom was 4 inches longer and had a 4-speed transmission, while America had to settle for 3 speeds, because I guess the Brits thought, let's not give them too much power. In 1929, the Phantom II debuted with a refined 7.7-liter straight-six engine and a new chassis, the Continental version, with a shorter wheelbase and stiffer springs, made it one of the fastest cars of the time, reaching 100 miles per hour. A total of 2,269 original Phantoms were produced in the UK and 1,240 in the US, while about half that number of Phantom IIs were made. Fun fact, the Phantom II was a movie star too. Rolls-Royce wasn't just dominating the roads, it was also stealing the Hollywood spotlight. It made appearances in several movies, including Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade.
Rolls-Royce Phantom II.
Though, plot twist, they showed the wrong model. To make it even funnier, the Sultan brags about the car's specs as if it were a 2530 model.
4.3-liter, 30 horsepower, 6-cylinder engine with Stromberg downdraft carburetor can go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 12.5 seconds.
In reality, it wasn't a Phantom II or a 2530. The car they showed was actually a 1935 Rolls-Royce 2025. Nice try, Hollywood. But then, all hell broke loose in 1929 with the Great Depression. Unemployment skyrocketed, stocks tanked, and the world economy crumbled. Remember the 2008 financial crisis? Yeah, that was cute compared to the Great Depression. Worldwide GDP dropped by less than 1% in 2008. But during the Depression, it fell by a staggering 15%. It was as if the world went into survival mode with such catastrophic events that it played a major role in the outbreak of World War II. So how did a luxury car brand like Rolls-Royce survive? I'm glad you asked. The Rolls-Royce 2025 saved the day. And yeah, it did it in pure luxury because even when the world is on fire, Rolls-Royce stays classy. A total of 3,827 units were built, and impressively, about 70% are still cruising today. Now that's durability. The engine received an upgrade to 25 horsepower compared to the Rolls-Royce 20, allowing it to reach a top speed of 76 miles per hour. But it wasn't exactly built for speed. It was built to survive. And that's what kept Rolls-Royce alive through these incredibly dark times. In 1931, Rolls-Royce acquired Bentley. And, like a true alpha move, they immediately stopped production of Bentley's 8-liter. Because why have competition when you can just buy it? This car could have rivaled the Phantom II, but nope. Royce said, not on my watch. The first Rolls-Royce Bentley arrived in 1933 with a 3.5-liter engine. Fans were skeptical, but its racetrack success quickly changed minds. Marketed as the silent sports car, it had both style and speed, though its 1,500-pound price tag was steep compared to a 100-pound Ford 8. In 1933, Sir Henry Royce, the heart of Rolls-Royce, passed away. Miraculously, 21 years later than doctors had predicted. Royce's story is incredible. Born into poverty, he didn't just survive, he thrived, creating a luxury car brand that's still iconic today. After Henry Royce's eternal rest in 1933, Rolls-Royce introduced the 2530 with a bigger engine that could hit 80 miles per hour. It was made for those oversized luxury body requests, because if your car isn't a mansion on wheels, what's the point? Oh, and it starred in Death in the Nile in 1978 and the 2022 reboot Like a True Celebrity. Fun fact, many early Rolls-Royce models up until the 1960s were sold as rolling chassis, which basically meant they handed you the engine and the chassis and then said, go make it fancy. Customers had to pay a coach builder to create the body, which resulted in wildly different custom designs, turning them into the ultimate status symbol. The Phantom III was the last car that Henry Royce had personally worked on before his passing. Production started in 1936, and it was the last large Rolls-Royce before World War II, and the only V12 model all the way until 1998. Its 7.3-liter engine pushed 180 horsepower, hitting 87 miles per hour. Only 727 Phantom III units were made, making it rarer than its earlier models. Fun fact, in James Bond Goldfinger, the villain cruised around in a black and yellow Phantom III. The car's strength and extravagance made it perfect for smuggling gold across Europe, because if you're going to be a villain, you might as well do it in style. In 1938, Rolls-Royce introduced the Wraith, a name that means ghost in Old Scottish. The name paid tribute to the earlier Silver Ghost, which was named the Wraith by its owner, proving that Rolls-Royce really likes their spooky themes. With a top speed of 85 miles per hour, the Wraith wasn't winning any races, especially when you compare it to the Mercedes-Benz W125 record wagon of the same era, which shattered records at 269 miles per hour or 433 kilometers per hour on public roads, a record that went unbeaten until 2017. But, of course, the Wraith wasn't about raw speed. It was all about style. In total, 492 of these classy models were built, with 16 delivered to the British government, probably to give politicians a better taste in luxury. In 2013, the Wraith made an epic comeback as a full-sized, ultra-luxury beast. But more on that later. The Wraith marked the end of an era, but Rolls-Royce is far from finished. How did Rolls-Royce survive World War II, overcome economic disasters, and revolutionize aviation? Discover the epic rise of Rolls-Royce in the next episode by clicking the video on screen.